Welcome to Knockhill. It's sunny and it's the Scottish Sports and Saloons Championship. Quick word with our driver before we go out. Paul, you've got your nemesis Ollie Mortimer in front of you. What are your tactics for this race?
Hopefully we can find a bit of time from qualifying. We're a bit disappointed with the pace that we had in that, so if it all goes well and I can get onto the back of Ollie, the way the weather is and things with the tyres, I'm hoping that that'll maybe work in my favour come the end of the race. If I'm there or thereabouts, I'll have a go at him. So.
It's very warm today. Does that affect the performance of the tyres?
Yeah, I usually find the sort of first 4 or 5 laps will be the best, and then after that we'll probably start to drop maybe half a second a lap after that. And then the car is obviously different to drive as well, so you know the driver needs to adjust their driving style to suit how the tyres are throughout the race as well, so it can be tricky. So.
Perfect. Okay, well look forward to seeing how you get on, and best of luck for the race. Thank you. Over to you, Duncan, for the commentary for this race.
Thank you very much, Fiona, down there in the pit lane. I hope you have your sun cream on, Fiona, because yes, it is incredibly hot here at Knockhill. And great to hear from Paul Wilson there, giving us a little bit of an in-depth or insight to what happens during the race and with these tyres when they do start going off in this intense heat which we have here at Knockhill. So just have a little thought for a minute for those marshals standing there in those fireproof pro-band suits which they've got on, waving those flags. So big thanks to all the marshals there. We wouldn't be racing if it wasn't for those guys, but yeah, they've got to endure the heat just as well or just as much as the drivers have in these cars. So the guys making their way around to form up the grid. We should mention that it's the racing return of Rocket Ron Cumming. There he is there, the little Nemesis kit car. If you watched the previous video, you would have seen for the Sports and Saloon Car Championship, Ron having an absolutely massive accident at the Knockhill hairpin, where he misjudged, shall we say, a lapping off a back marker, unfortunately, and the car skittled across that grassy infield there and rolled through the gravel trap, and there wasn't much left of that, but Ron being Ron, has put the thing back together with the help of MG Racing, Macmillan Jagger. The guys there doing a fabulous job, and it's come back red as well, which is a nice colour for a race car. It went away black in several small little bits of Nemesis car, and it's come back looking absolutely fantastic. So great to have Ron back here. By far and away the quickest car we will see this weekend. Alongside him is David Heaton, then Will Robson, and we have got a full complement of lights. And away we go down towards Duffy's Dip for the first time of asking for the Sports and Saloon Car Championship. And let's see who has got the jump. Ron Cumming and David Heaton in that very, very fast Caterham. Make their way down towards Duffy's Dip, and through the corner they go. Down and in towards McIntyre's. A little bit of bunching in the mid-pack there. But let's see, let's hope everybody manages to get through in one piece. Ollie Mortimer leads the minis just now, but he has got Paul Wilson all over the back of him as they make their way up the back straight towards Clark. Somebody running a little bit wide there and kicking up a little bit of dust and dirt. Paul Rankin in third place just now ahead of Will Robson. Two guys that have graduated from Superlap Scotland into this racing series. But look at the lead that this man has in this beautiful sunshine here at Knockhill Racing Circuit, past that lovely spectator area which we have there on the exit of the hairpin. Gives you a fabulous view of the hairpin, and whoa, Will Robson's got ahead of Paul Rankin there. Rankin's dropped a position, so Will Robson has got ahead of him. And can he hold that up the main straight? Because that's a quick car that Paul Rankin's in. Having said that, Will Robson's car's fast as well. Then Ollie Mortimer ahead of Paul Wilson, ahead of Stuart Buchan and Fraser Jameson. Now Callum Dryburn and Scott Duthie go through, but yeah, the Buchan and Jameson racing has been getting, shall we say, pretty fierce in testing, never mind racing. So those guys, they seem to be forever glued at the hip. And let's hope that they can give us some fabulous racing throughout the course of the day. But Ron Cumming already through the chicane there. Great camera view that. You can see the car really has to work. It goes light over the hill there where Will Robson is, and it compresses and lands on the exit of the chicane. Ollie Mortimer and Paul Wilson throwing those minis through there, as is Buchan and Jameson. Great bit of camera work that. I do like that. And it shows you just how hard the drivers have to work to generate the lap time here at Knockhill in their chosen class. Ron Cumming has a little bit more grip everywhere, so he can just kind of ease the car a little bit better through the corners where the minis really have to force it to fit. Callum Dryburn wide at the exit of Clark and bounces through the gravel trap. Ron Cumming makes his way up the main straight. And it's great to see Ron Cumming with that car back and built, because it's a massive task to build a car from the chassis up. From a bare chassis to put it all back together and get herself back on the racetrack with very limited testing as well. And that must be playing in the back of Ron Cummings' mind. You know, he's just built this brand new car, they've got it together, it hasn't really been tried and tested. And will it all hold together? Will everything work as it should do? Because that's when things can rear their ugly head and silly little gremlins can just show up, pop into play. Let's hope Ron Cummings doesn't have that, because right now he's pulling away from David Headon. But it's great to see David Headon returning as well. Haven't seen David out in this car for quite some time now. And that Caterham, he used to be out there when he was racing against, shall we say, fire-breathing monsters, such as, well, Charlie Shaw was one of them. You had Ian Donaldson, Andrew Gallagher, and these big turbocharged cars, and they used to spit flames right in the face of David Headon, and he used to absolutely love it. Down towards the hairpin they go. Ollie Mortimer still leading the way in the minis from Paul Wilson, quite comfortable, bucking ahead of Jameson still, but those guys bouncing their way through them. Thankfully Callum Driver doesn't use the gravel trap this time for going through Clark Corner. That Nemesis kit car just sounds absolutely stunning as he powers up the main straight. I do like that. And just listen to the grunt noise off that Caterham. One thing Caterhams have always given us here at Knockhill, not just fabulous racing, but they give you such a lovely engine note as well. And David Headon's one is no ordinary Caterham, let me tell you that. It's got an enormous amount of horsepower under the bonnet in it, and he drives it extremely well. Let's say that. David Headon in second place right now. Lives just outside St Andrews in Fife, a local-ish man, should we say, because St Andrews isn't that close to the circuit. Same places where Alan Kirkcaldy comes from, another great racer from St Andrews, the Kirkcaldy family, Alan and Andrew Kirkcaldy. Both done a lot of racing here at Knockhill in single-seaters, and Alan also done a lot of BMW stuff as well, now away rallying. But let's concentrate on this. There's Ollie Mortimer coming through. Look at the distance he's now put between himself and Paul Wilson, and he's got the fastest lap of the race for the minis right now, has Ollie Mortimer. He's pretty handy with that one, and he always gets good laps. But as Paul Wilson was telling us in the pre-race with Fiona down there in the holding area, you don't get very much back from the tyres in this heat. You'll maybe get 2 or 3 laps, and then the pace does drop off dramatically, and then it's up to the driver how he manages that. How do you manage it? Well, you've got to be sensible. If you're rough with the car, it's going to get worse and worse as the race develops. The degradation will get bigger, the car will feel horrible, and yeah, just look at this battle into the hairpin. Buchan and Jameson, they're not worried about their tyres, they just want to beat each other, don't they? Beat each other to a pulp. As Mortimer goes through, Wilson goes through. Now we're seeing Buchan and Jameson be looking in his mirrors, chuckling all the way up the main straight as Fraser Jameson come roaring into the hairpin, really closed up on the brakes there. And Callum Driver is getting a grandstand view of that just now. But Ron Cummings leads through turn 1 and 2. Turn 1, Duffy's Dip. Turn 2, Leslie's here. Now, that's a little bit wide for Ron. That's not something we see him doing very often. So just a little bit wide at the apex of McIntyre's turn 3. Car still sounds good in my ears as he powers up the straight, and David Headon as well. Very much on song as they make their way around towards the hairpin. Now these guys, the class of the field. But it will come into lapping traffic. Not the biggest grid as we see Ollie Mortimer coming through the chicane there. One thing Ollie does do is flamboyant stuff, and he does it so well in these minis. He's raced them for a long time. He used to be in the Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cup, and he's graduated onto this to try and promote this championship a bit more. There's a lot of cars out there, Ollie keeps telling me. It's just the need to get so many on the grid. They'll get one man for one race, but then he won't shop for the next one, and somebody else will. So these cars, there are a good few of them out there, so the more we get on the grid, the better. They look great and they sound fabulous, and they're just a little bit quicker than the Celtic Speed cars, but no way are they here to take over. Not just yet, anyway, as we make our way. And let's look at Will Robson coming down Duffy's Dip here. That's Leslie's, that tricky left-hander, which a lot of people discount. They don't give it enough credit. It's a hard corner. If you get it wrong, it bites you right in the bum, shall we say, and you land in the gravel trap at the feet of the marshals. And yeah, many a great man has come to rest in that gravel trap, wondering how it all went wrong. Here we see Paul Rankin coming through as well. Paul looking a little bit subdued, I've got to say. I expect Paul to be just that little bit faster, but he looks a little bit subdued as then Ollie Mortimer comes through and shows us just how keen he is as he makes his way up the back straight. Is Rankin getting caught by Ollie Mortimer? I need to look at my timing screen for that. No, he's not actually. It's just the camera's giving us a little vain hope that he might be. If anything, Ollie Mortimer is extending the gap from Paul Wilson, but he isn't catching up towards Paul Rankin, as Jameson still hard on the tail of Buchan there, heading towards the hairpin. Ron Cumming, nice apex that time. Turn 3, McIntyre's. Marshall's watch on in the background as we expect David Heaton on cue. Through goes David Heaton. Decent lap time. They've both put a lap on Scott Duthie, and that will have laid the ghost to rest for Ron Cumming, because it was Scott that Ron just misjudged when he was lapping him in the reverse direction, and it caused that massive accident for Ron. So that has definitely put that one to bed, and those two guys can carry on with the remainder of the race now. David Heaton, I've got to say, is very much keeping Ron Cumming honest here as they get towards the sharp end of this race now. We've got some 4 laps now to go. Will Robson in a bit of a lonely third place. And when I say bit of a lonely, there's a bit of car lying on the main straight down there. That's a wing mirror from a purple car and a wing mirror from a green car. So that will be Stuart Buchan's wing mirror on the right hand side and Fraser Jameson's on the left hand side. So those guys, that'll be the wing mirror cover. Those guys have got extremely close together at some point of the circuit, and they've done it on the main straight. And if we get to see these guys, look, they're coming into the hairpin there. Buchan's still defending from Jameson. So I wonder if that's what happened the previous lap and they managed to lose a wing mirror each. Now, that's never the best thing, because if you lose the wing mirror on the inside, you then don't see what's happening behind you and what's coming up behind you. Look at this, a side by side underneath the Beatson's Bridge. Hold on to your hats. Yes, they have. They've been banging wing mirrors, both those guys. Jameson up the inside, and he manages to. Oh, they're still side by side through Leslie's. Side by side through turn 1 and 2 into turn 3. Buchan cuts across the nose. Has he gone in deep? Yes, he has. He runs down the gravel. Jameson goes back underneath him, and Stuart Buchan takes. Oh, he's gone right down through Butchers. And Jameson will be sniggering all the way up the back straight with that one. As Ron Cumming comes through, it just about catches Stuart Buchan. And look, just at the back of Ron Cumming, that's David Heaton. How has David Heaton caught up so much towards Ron Cumming? Has Ron got some sort of an issue that we don't know about? We need to try and listen to the car as it comes up the main straight, but that was a fair bit of excitement there in the Sports and Saloon Car Championship there, with Stuart Buchan definitely showing us what not to do. He was fighting it out with Fraser Jameson all the way, but unfortunately Fraser J comes away with that one. Now Ron Cumming, there's definitely not something not right with that car. As he goes underneath the Beatson's building supply bridge, you're just trying to get a noise of the engine there in the background. It doesn't sound like he's going down any gears. Doesn't sound like Ron Cumming's going down any gears as he goes through Duffy's dip. So is he stuck in one gear for the whole circuit? And that looked like somebody having a bit of a moment in the background there. That wouldn't happen to be Stuart Buchan, would it? Yes, it would have. So if Ron Cumming's stuck in a certain gear, it's obviously just enough to stay in front of David Heaton. But David Heaton knows Ron Cumming is wounded, and he knows that he's got a chance to get a race win here, but he's going to have to try and be clever about it, because Ron knows how to defend as they head round towards the hairpin. Tense stuff right at the end of this Scottish Saloon and Sports Car Championship race as David Heaton comes through the hairpin. He can smell a victory, he can see it in front of him. Ron Cumming just managing to hold off by the skin of his teeth here as we go over the line to start another lap here at Knockhill as the wing mirrorless Fraser Jameson comes through. Now he's managed to dispose, shall we say, off of the wing mirrorless Stuart Buchan there. It still looks like he's got a wing mirror there, but just the partial outside cover has been removed of it. Ron Cumming, it sounds like he's managing to go up gears now, so I wonder if it's something intermittent. That car has probably got an air shift system on it, such as Radicals used to have. SR8 Radical had that, the V8 Radical. And is that steam coming out the top of David Heaton's bonnet as he come through Clark there as well? So everything getting stretched to its absolute limit here at Knockhill Racing Circuit today because of this heat. As Paul Wilson stays well and truly out of Ron Cumming's way, puts an indicator on, doesn't deviate from his racing line. He just showed Ron that he wasn't going to move. And that was good. Good experience, bit of driving from Paul Wilson there. He's been around quite a lot, knows what to do. As through comes Ollie Mortimer. Ron Cumming between him and Paul Wilson, going up the back straight. And I think that is steam that's coming out of David Heaton's bonnet. Just a little bit. You might see it this time as he comes into view here. Just from the front, no, we didn't see anything that time. As the guys make their way round to the hairpin. Ron Cumming goes through very, very slowly there. Looks like he's struggling. Yes, he is. He's struggling even more now. Ron Cumming very slow on the exit of the hairpin. Where's David Heaton? Has David Heaton got enough left in that car to get him a drag race to the line? This is so close. Who's going to get it? Oh, absolutely on the line. David Heaton steals that one from Ron Cumming, who has a mechanical issue. Absolute disaster for Cumming. Let's hand down to Fiona, because that's going to be some chat after the race with that one. In third place, we will see Will Robson coming through, but Fiona, take it away.
Congratulations, David, on that win. Talk us through that race.
Good start. Ron's always quicker car. You're struggling that really. Ron's car's probably 2 seconds a lap quicker. Just kept on it, and then I'm not sure what happened. There was a bit of debris lying in the track, which I think was a mirror came from Ron's car, caught up with him, and then he seemed to, I don't know, he got I think 7th, 8th, 9th lap, away he went again. Then I sprung a water leak, and then not sure quite what happened at the end. Ron seemed to slow right down, and I picked up the post.
So the water leak, is that why you came crawling back in for the holding bay?
Yes.
So will you get it fixed for race 2?
I would think so, yeah. I think it's fine. I think I know what it is.
Well done, Ollie. P1 in the Cooper S's. How was that race for you?
Yeah, it was good. The first couple of corners was quite exciting. Then it just sort of, I got a bit of a gap off Paul, so it wasn't easy because it's so hot out there, but you know, it's a shame Paul wasn't more of a threat. I think he's got carb problems, because he did drop back more than normal. I seen 2 wing mirrors covers lying on the straight, and I thought, one's green, one's pink. I thought, Stuart's been at it again, but nah, it was alright. It was good.
Good. We spoke to Paul before the race, and he said about after 3 or 4 laps the tyres would go off. Did you find that, or was it okay?
Aye, they did go off, and then halfway through it my ABS light came on, so it's fine when you know it's on, but it's that couple of corners, you know yourself, when it goes off and you're not aware of it being off and you're driving it like you've got ABS. So I had a couple of moments with that, but other than that it was great, and it's nice to see a friendly face on the TV like yourself doing interviews.
Over to you, Duncan, for race 2 of the Scottish Sports and Saloons Championship.
Thank you very much, Fiona Wallace. Was Oliver Mortimer being nice to Fiona Wallace there? Remember, those two have locked horns on a racetrack many a time. So Ollie, all about the chat. Oliver Mortimer, all about the chat. Great guy, good driver as well, and that's his good friend there, Paul Wilson, behind him, and he wants Paul to give him a bit of competition, he's been saying as well. So competition required for Oliver Mortimer, and let's see how this race unfolds in the minis. Yeah, he did say that Stuart has been at it again. That was a reference to Stuart Buchan, and Fraser Jameson was the man that Stuart Buchan was at it again with, and it was just this corner here where we saw Fraser was clever. He braked. You could see Stuart was trying to go in too hot, so he braked and he let Stuart just wind himself too fast through the apex of the corner. He bounced down the gravel trap on the exit of McIntyre's, but insult to injury, he didn't manage to get back on the track, and you just keep going down the gravel and all the way up towards the chicane where he rejoined. So Stuart Buchan will be probably thinking a little bit more about how to overtake and dispatch of Fraser Jameson. But it's good to see David Heaton back on track, because Fiona did ask him, will he get that car fixed? Yes, I will get it fixed, was David Heaton's response, always firm and straight to the point, and he has, he's back on track, although he did say that he was very lucky getting the victory in that race number 1, because Ron Cumming was stuck in 6th gear. So that was a disaster for the nemesis, but it's back together, and let's hope that's its only nemesis this weekend. You can see what I did there. So the cars coming around the hairpin, Will Robson and Paul Rankin still in the same positions with Mortimer, Wilson, Jameson, Buchan and Callum Driver with Scott Duthie at the very back. We're under a full complement of lights. We're about to go racing here at Knockhill under sunny skies with 40 plus degrees of track temperature, which is almost unheard of for these SMRC local racers, and down towards toughest tip they go. Ron Cumming blasts away at the front from David Heaton. Paul Rankin and Will Robson try to follow in pursuit, and Paul Rankin's actually got ahead of David Heaton. So that's a bit of a shock at the start. Rankin manages to go through. Will Robson has minis all over the back of him, and that's not what he'll be wanting to see at all. And in Ollie Mortimer's mind, any scalp is free, and he'll be trying to get past Will Robson as quickly as he possibly can. As through comes Ron Cumming. A little bit of rear wheel steer from Ron there, a little bit of sliding as he goes over the apex of Clarks, and the rest of the guys all bundle through and make their way round towards the hairpin. For the first time of asking here, Ron Cumming's through and away. Will Robson had a look at Paul Rankin. There's David Heaton's already gone past him now as they make their way up the main straight to click off lap number 1. Last car goes through, that's Scott Duthie. Listen to this. As through our shop Didn't actually hear him there. It was quiet. So our shot goes, Ron Cumming. Note to self, don't try and promote engine noise if you can't hear it yourself. Ron Cumming goes down through Butchers and up towards the chicane. You can see the bollards that have been put in as well. Now, the drivers' meeting this morning, I managed to sneak into one of the drivers' briefings. Clerk of the course, hang on, cancel that. Who was that running wide? Was that Ollie Mortimer kicking up the gravel there in front of Paul Wilson? It could have been. But those 4 bollards at the chicane, the clerk of the course in the driver's briefing was basically saying, you touch them, you're in big trouble. They're his, you do not touch them. And all the drivers giving him a nice bit of respect. In all honesty though, they're too far off the circuit. You wouldn't want to be that high up that big yumpy sausage curb. It would upset the car too much for that part of the chicane. It's more the second part of the chicane where drivers tend to take liberties and take too much of the inside sausage curb. But taking curb is never something that you're going to see Ron Cumming do too much of. That Nemesis will never be climbing over those sausage curbs. The little proper little race car with a flat floor in it, it wants to stay on the racetrack. Maybe use a little bit of curb here and there, such as apex and exit, but you'll never see him climbing those big red sausage curbs. It just doesn't do the car any good. And with such minimal suspension travel in that car, it's really not going to be an enjoyable ride over those sausage curbs for Ron Cumming. Will Robson, on the other hand, in towards McIntyre's. A new idea about the car this year. Last year it sounded like sonic booms every time he changed the gears. It really was starting to worry the commentary box. That used to rattle the windows in the commentary box as he made his way round towards the Ippan and up the main straight. But he's gone for a different kind of fueling idea this year. It was an anti-lag system last year and it banged like nothing on earth. This year he's changed his idea of how to fuel that car. He's got the same amount of power and he's using less fuel, so apparently that seems to be the way to do it. And we saw Buchan and Jameson going through absolutely glued together again. Those guys are great value for money. If you've never been to watch an SMRC meeting, you've got to come just to watch Stuart Buchan and Fraser Jameson tearing lumps out of each other, race after race, lap after lap, actually corner after corner as well. Our leader's already gone through. Here comes the second place man. David Headon in that beautiful Caterham. Sounds just fabulous, does that car. Look at the hairpin, that's Jameson, or that was Buchan passing or defending or doing something from Fraser Jameson. Don't actually know what, but he was doing something there, hopping his way in towards the hairpin. And once again, they go past the start-finish line camera. But thankfully they've still all got wing mirrors on their cars as David Headon leaves McIntyre's. A bit of a empty drive for David Headon, shall we say. I'm not going to say boring drive because I don't believe that driving that car will ever be boring with the amount of horsepower and non-grip that it has. But it's a lonely race for David Headon in that second place, and he was very gracious about Ron Cumming after race number 1. He knew that Ron Cumming had a problem, and David managed to, I'm not going to say fluke a victory because he was still there towards the end of it, pressurising him. But he knows that Ron Cumming has the faster car and the faster equipment, but you've still got to finish the race. You've still got to finish first. We saw Stuart Buchan again coming through the chicane there very sideways, and I think we're waiting on him coming through at Clarkey. There goes Mortimer, there goes Wilson. Then we'll get the dueling duo themselves, Buchan and Jameson. It was Jameson who was sideways last time and just kicking up the edge of the gravel this time. But you can also notice in the minis the complete contrast of driving. These two here just look like they don't care, Buchan and Jameson. But then you've got Mortimer and Wilson. Now Ollie Mortimer looks like he dances the car about a bit. Paul Wilson very much straight, in line, but quick. So there's different ways of getting the different lap time as they make their way through Duffy's Dip towards Leslie's there. You can see Paul Wilson getting quite keen, using a lot of curb at the bottom of Duffy's through Leslie's. And then look, Stuart Buchan and Fraser Jameson also going through and in towards McIntyre's. Good apex for Fraser Jameson there. Stuart Buchan just a little bit wide. You can see how much quicker Fraser Jameson is down through that twisty part as they go through the chicane now. Over the curb, both drivers using it there. And Jameson really does close up through that twisty section of the circuit. Ollie Mortimer still has a nice gap over Paul Wilson, but it's these next two guys, the heat haze in the track. And Fraser Jameson does look like the quicker car. Currently right now he's got a faster lap than Stu Buchan. But we've seen this so many times with these two guys being so closely matched on circuit, but then somebody does something a little bit different, shall we say. I'm not going to say crazy, just a little bit different, and it doesn't end well. Ron Cumming is coming past Callum Driver just now, and he does that, takes Callum on the straight there. Bit of a bounce from the nose of Callum's car, excuse me. That's Paul Wilson. Oh, big slide through McIntyre for Paul Wilson. That's just a perfect graphic example of the tyres starting to go. That car looks like it's driving on marbles. It won't feel nice, and yeah, well, it does feel nice. It feels great going sideways, but if you're going sideways, you're scrubbing off that forward momentum, and that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to be going sideways. You want to keep the car in a nice straight line, driving as much as you can. So Paul Wilson he's reached that point, hasn't he, where the tyres have just gone off the cliff that they talk about in Formula 1. And he was over-rotating the rear of the car there. That sounds nice, doesn't it? Ron Cumming now starting to catch up with the back markers now, the two minis of Buchan and Jameson. And let's hope those guys see Ron actually homing up to the back of him now, because when they're very much involved in their own battle, they need to realise that the blue flags will be waving as the faster car comes up. Look at the speed difference here. The Nemesis absolutely destroys those two minis up the main straight. As Ollie Mortimer now goes through McIntyre, showing us his style. Over the crest of the chicane, you can hear the minis. And yeah, Ollie's good at this, isn't he? He's very good at sliding the car, but carrying the speed and carrying the momentum. As through comes Ron Cumming. You can see the complete difference. So the minis jump about and skip and go sideways, and Ron Cumming completely flat planted in a straight line, not overworking the car, not abusing the car. Obviously has a lot more power than these minis. It's in a different class, but it generates a lap time completely differently. Rear engine as well, rear wheel drive. The mini's front engine, front wheel drive. And is he slow through the hairpin? That surely can't be the same problem for Ron Cumming. Was it there? Or was that just an optical illusion through the camera lens? Up the main straight they go. He clicks off another lap. The next two cars across the line will be Stu Buchan and Fraser Jameson, once again glued together all the way, as Ron Cumming slides underneath Paul Wilson through the apex of Duffy's Dip. That was a nice manoeuvre, well executed manoeuvre that, not costing himself any time in the race whatsoever. As Buchan and Jameson, Fraser Jameson still trying absolutely everything to get onto terms with Stuart Buchan, but just not happening for him, and he's in the gravel at the exit of McIntyre's now, so that's a disaster for him as well. And over the crest of that chicane, he's going to have to just try and wind himself back just that little bit as Fraser Jameson, and if he can do that, it will be so much better for his overall lap time. As Paul Rankin goes past Scott Duthie in towards the hairpin there, and then runs a little bit wide mid-corner, does Paul Rankin, but gets it together and makes his way up the main straight. Ron Cumming now coming into view at the hairpin, and he makes his way through and up that main straight. These guys will start to notice the heat quite a bit in these cars. They'll be starting to maybe not fatigue too much, but it certainly will be very uncomfortable for them now. All the insides get taken at the car, and the heat soak that comes through the floor pan from the exhaust which goes underneath, the engine that's in front of you, and also just the physical exertion it takes to drive a race car around Knockhill. Knockhill's not an easy place to drive a race car. You never ever get a chance to really rest. You're always doing something, so it is pretty difficult for these guys with the heat outside, the ambient temperature way up in the high 20s, track temperature as well, so it all comes to a head at some point. And when you get to with 2 laps of the race to go, you're just wanting that bottle of water from Fiona Wallace in the post-race interview. That's what you're really looking for. It might eventually be a cup of tea come October when it's a bit, shall we say, colder, but right now it's a bottle of water these guys are wanting. As they click off another lap, Ron Cumming goes towards Duffy's Dip here, and still coming into our view was the Buchan and Jameson battle, as we pick up with Paul Rankin and get a little bit of Rankin time on TV now. The former Super Lap Scotland King of the Hill champion in a Subaru Impreza, now in a Westfield, something completely different, and he goes through. Ron Cumming homes up towards the back of Paul Rankin, and Willie managed to put Paul a lap down, and these two guys better watch out as well, because behind Fraser Jameson, homing in very quickly, is David Heaton. And Fraser Jameson again in the gravel at the exit of McIntyre's. They're actually starting to put a trench in there. They've gone through the gravel that many times. You need to watch that he doesn't A, pick up a puncture, or B, pick up a penalty from the clerk of the course. As Heaton slithers up the side, and once again there's another cloud of gravel from Fraser Jameson, as Ron Cumming will put a lap down on Paul Rankin as we go over the crest of the hill and start this lap. Is this the last lap? I believe it's the last lap for that man Ron Cumming, as we focus on the hairpin and see the guys coming through just now. David Heaton is our second place man. He's just about to pop into view now. There we see him. He goes on to start his last lap, as does Buchan and Jameson. Now they've been like that for the entire race. It's now or never for Fraser Jameson. Has he got anything left in the tank in that Mini to try and put a pass on his good mate Stuart Buchan, as through the Arnold Clark chicane, or through the chicane, sorry, goes Ron Cumming up the back straight. He slithers past Paul Rankin on the way in towards Clark Corner, and here comes Ollie. But we really are interested in this Mini battle. If we could see the two Minis, but it's always good to follow our lead around towards the hairpin on this, the last lap. It's been a fabulous display of driving from Ron Cumming. He's come back. He had gremlins in race number 1 where the car was stuck in gear, but come race number 2, that's all been put behind him. The Nemesis is held out, it's held together, and Ron Cumming wins a fabulous, fabulous race. Paul Rankin crosses the line. Ollie Mortimer is going to cross the line as well, ahead of Paul Wilson. He'll win the Mini part of it. But in comes Ron Cumming. Let's pop down to Fiona for some post-race interviews.
Yep. So well done, Ollie. Another podium finish for you today. You feeling the heat? You're looking a bit hot and bothered.
Yeah, I mean, I've just seen that, like, even if it's cold, I sweat. Just one of these sweaty people. But nah, it was a good race. There wasn't much happening behind me, really. Paul's still struggling for straight line speed, so I just had a bit of time to just really go and enjoy myself. I was trying to get a bit sideways down Duffus and everything, but no, it's good to have the car back in one piece. And big thanks to Edinburgh Watch Company for supporting me, and Edinburgh Remaps as well, and Douglas Gas Services. They're here today as well, so it makes it even better doing it with your sponsors here. So great weekend, no damage. That's it, really. Enjoyed
so just need to get Vic Covey Jr. back out to give you some something to worry about.
Yeah, we should definitely do that. He says he might be at the next one, so hopefully he'll push me right into making a mistake. But no, it'd be good to get more cars out, especially Vic, because he's quick. And there's a couple more. Jock Borthwick, get your car ready and get out. Come on, you know you want to. Come on, Jock, get your car ready. But nah, great weekend, and it's good to see Ron Cummins doing well after his big crash. So that was great that he got a win there. So all in all, good weekend.